my name is Caitlin and welcome back to my channel. So I started watching one of Dan Schneider's relatively new sitcoms called Henry Danger. If you're not familiar with Dan Schneider, he's the creator of numerous Nickelodeon sitcoms, most notably Zoey 101, iCarly, Drake and Josh. That's actually the main reason why I wanted to watch the show. I'm a big fan of his old stuff, so I wanted to see what he's been doing recently. And so I came across Henry Danger. He actually has two shows out at the moment, this one and another one called Game Shakers, and I chose to watch Henry Danger first because it had better reviews on IMDb, but of course, if you guys want me to watch Game Shakers, just leave a comment down below and I will definitely check it out. So Henry Danger follows a story of a young boy named Henry who becomes the sidekick to a superhero who lives and protects the town that they live in called Swellview. The first season is pretty introductory to the entire show as far as I can tell. It does have one two-parter episode, but other than that it's pretty basic with just developing and introducing the characters. So far I would probably give it, in comparison to its other series, a rating of 5 out of 10, which obviously isn't that great, but I did actually enjoy the show. So season 1 is pretty enjoyable. It's absolutely got that Dan Schneider feel to it, and one thing he's good at is creating this world for his characters to live in, and so you do have like your little Easter egg references to other series, and those parts always make me happy, like in the one episode where Nathan Kress shows up, or even just like seeing Wahoo punch on the table or something. It's just really awesome as a fan of his older shows. The show tends to use just random or really weird things to try to get laughs, and I feel like that worked better on older shows. I would obviously have to go back and rewatch them because it has been a while, but the one example I think of is on iCarly when they had Spencer as a baby in one of their sketches, and they would do like weird things with him, but it worked because it was a sketch, whereas in Henry Danger, when you have just a villain person being a baby, like it doesn't make sense. Like, why is he a baby? Why is he trying to take over Swellview? Like, it just didn't make sense to me, and I just didn't find it funny. It just came off as annoying. And I don't know if that's like an age thing. Like, I understand that I'm not the target demographic for this show, but I can still go back and watch iCarly and laugh at what Spencer does, or Zoey 101 and laugh at Coco's obsession with ravioli, but because it's a bit more clever, I feel, than how they do it here. Another thing that I find annoying is when they use other cultures as the reason for the joke. So I remember them doing this on the other shows, but again, I have to go back and watch it, but I don't remember it being as strong as it is here. Like, a lot of times they use people that are stupid to get laughs, and usually it's someone of a different culture, which would be fine if you would make a smart joke about it. Like, there are times in the show could really make me laugh because of a smart or clever joke that Captain Man or someone said. He was the one who usually got the most laughs out of me. But a lot of times it's just they're foreign and they're dumb. Like when they had the gardener rub the laptop against his stomach because he didn't know what FaceTime was. Like, that's just weird, and honestly I think it can be seen as offensive. I'm a strong believer that anything is free when it comes to comedy. However, when you're not using good jokes with thought-through punchlines, that shock factor gets old really fast, and it's walking that fine line of offensive versus funny. And while we're on the topic of offensive things, I also find that their portrayal of females on the show is discouraging. A lot of times Captain Man specifically treats women as objects in the way that he speaks about Henry's mother, or the way that he just speaks about females in general. A lot of times he'll like want to go to a certain place because there'll be cute girls there, and then he never really talks about like if he's had any steady relationships. He just kind of uses them, and that's about the end of the story. You could argue that the main female character, Charlotte, makes up for this, and I would have to agree to an extent. She almost reminds me of Hermione in the way that her character is that sense of knowledge in the group. However, sometimes it's still lacking, like in the episode where she took over for Kid Danger but then decided it wasn't for her because she got dirty in the end. Like, I was really excited that she was taking charge because I was like, finally a girl can do something and not just be a damsel in distress in this show. But at the end she's just like, I don't want to do this anymore, I got dirty. And it was like, what are you, that was just did not feel like it fit her character at all. While we're talking about damsels in distress, that was actually something that really bothered me during the show. Like, I felt like every single time Henry liked a girl, he had to go and save her from something. Like in the one episode, I forget her name, I think it might have been Bianca, but like Captain Man and that other guy like dressed up as thugs and like came over and kind of started bugging her, and then Kid Danger comes over and saves her, quote unquote, and then she's like, thanks for saving me, and I'm like, you weren't even in trouble, I don't understand why you couldn't have just walked away. Like, it just didn't make any sense, and they all just seem dumb, and it's really annoying. It makes me mad. There was one instance near the end of the series where there was like the badass girl, but there's some problems there too, but I'd have to go into more depth and I don't want to do that right now. I would actually have to say that his little sister is the strongest female on this show because she knows what she wants and she does what she has to do to get it, but she's seen as annoying because, let's face it, she is, which is kind of unfortunate because I feel like if they would have handled her character a bit differently and didn't make her as whiny, she would be great. So I hope that as we move on throughout the seasons, she'll be able to develop further. So something more positive about the show that I really enjoy is their commentary on superheroes in our society. Almost makes fun of the whole superhero craze with even just like Captain Man's name and the ridiculousness of like the powers and how they work and how he got them. Like, it's clearly a joke on like the whole superhero craze, which is pretty clever. I'm also finding that the acting in the show is pretty well done, especially for young kids, and I've got to give them props for that. I also enjoy the actor who plays Captain Man. He reminds me a lot of the YouTuber called Thomas Sanders. Like I said before, he usually makes me laugh the most, although sometimes he can be a bit much. Like, I always found like Spencer on iCarly was my favorite character, and he was funny, but Captain Man isn't really like silly like Spencer is, but it works. I enjoy him. I would probably say that the show is more for older kids like 10 to 13 because it is different from Disney Channel. They're not as conservative with like kissing or talking about bras and stuff like that, but that was the same with iCarly. I feel like I'm referencing iCarly a lot, but it's a great show, so watch it if you haven't. And it is refreshing as an older viewer, and I found that the sexual innuendos did get a lot of laughs from me too. Something I would like to see from this show that I thought would already be in it would be a consistent villain. Don't get me wrong, I'm very, very, very happy that the villain that they introduced in the first episode did not stay throughout the series, because he was probably the most annoying character that the show had. However, in the second season, I would like to see maybe a reoccurring villain that we've already seen in the first season, or introduce a villain that we will get to see more of. Another thing that bugs me is I'm a big consistency person, and so when you have a universe like this one where all the shows live in the same place, you risk messing up that timeline by going back in time. And they did that right at the beginning of the show when they showed us how Captain Man got his powers, because it set a time frame on his childhood that was inaccurate, especially when it went in later episodes back to his childhood and it was completely different. And I don't know if that was because they changed their minds on like how they wanted to portray him, but it bugged me because it didn't fit in at all, as well as the technology they used. Now, I don't know how far in the future this is supposed to be or like how his universe is supposed to work, but they are using like see-through phones and holograms and thumbprint locks, which is cool, but when you use these sort of technology, you better be able to build off of that for other shows that are supposed to be even more in the future or like fit in the same timeline. Like, if you're going to show us an episode of Drake and Josh that people are watching, but have like these hologram phones, like why are people still watching Drake and Josh in this universe? Or if it's the same time frame, then why didn't they use those kind of phones on Drake and Josh? Like, it just ruins that consistency. Also, I want to talk again about the Disney versus Nick sort of comparison that there is always going to be between the two networks, because the main reason why I prefer Disney over Nick shows is because Disney shows tend to have an underlying message at the end of their episodes, which I think is really important in children's TV. However, they do introduce lessons in some of these episodes. They oftentimes end up with just making a joke out of it at the end, and you're not really spreading that learning kind of factor that Disney Channel does really well. So I want to talk a little bit more about ships because I enjoy shipping things. So if you want to not be spoiled about ships, then I'd say you have to go watch the show and then come back. If you don't care, then just keep on watching. So obviously, Charlotte and Henry have to end up together. I mean, they're friends, and we know how Dan Schneider is good with starting out friendships that blossom into something more, like in Zoey 101 or iCarly. Like, he's good at that, especially with that one episode we got where they were telling Jasper the secret of them dating, and Jasper said that he's still gonna think about them kissing. Like, I could relate to that, which is something that's interesting because they seem to be making Henry sort of like a ladies' man. I mean, he's got like 3 girlfriends in the first season, and he kisses all of them because I guess it's Nick, not Disney. But it still took me off guard, and I definitely think there is some foreshadowing to him being with Charlotte in the end. I also don't know how controversial this is, but Henry's little sister and Jasper are like 3 years apart, but they seem to have a lot of storylines together, and they're always fighting, and I know it might be weird now because like he's a bit older than her, but like once we move forward in the show and they get to be more of like the same age and that age difference isn't as weird, like I could totally see them being together, and I already ship them. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say about ships, so let me know down below who you ship, or if I missed your favorite one, or if you like don't even care about the ships on the show, let me know what you think. If you also want me to go into more in depth on the storylines of the first season, I can do that. I felt like I wanted to make a review just in general thoughts about this show. Also, if you want me to watch season 2, I can do that and make a review for that as well. And please, please, please don't spoil anything for me down below, because I don't know, I'll probably still watch season 2. I'm debating if I want to give it a chance or not. So please don't ruin anything down there and be nice. Yeah, that's all I have to say for today. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon. Bye!